So I just thought we'd just chat for a while. I don't want to do anything too like high stress or anything crazy. So
That's all I want from you, PFed.
all
Is
right,
just
I
to chat
appreciate.
for once.
Yeah, that'd be. We just see each other like two ships in the night, always crossing
Exactly.
paths.
Always, man.
Look
I
at that
know.
that COVID hair. I mean, the first thing
Long hair.
let me just do an intro for you, okay? I
Sure.
wrote some highlights down, so
Can't wait to hear it.
I'm coming out of the gate swinging here with this podcast. I'm not going for any lowlifes like Prickett. I'm going for the heavy hitters like Aaron Jeffery here. Pro MMA fighter, 7-2, right? Current
Yep.
BTC middleweight champion still.
Yep.
One of the top middleweights in the country, a veteran of the Dana White Contender Series, BJJ purple belt, nutritional scientist. Is that an accurate term?
Something like that.
Something like that. Male model, I guess I would throw in. Amateur.
Actually, this weekend at the BTC fashion show, I'll be making my first walk down the runway.
Stop. You've been hanging out with Elias Theodoreau for far too long. I feel like that's just throwing everything
be.
up. I was gonna say
could be the problem.
I really wanted to get you on just because I need to bump my female viewership. I only have an overwhelmingly male audience, so this is my attempt.
My audience seems to be very male dominant too.
I-
Most of the DMs I get
all
on
the.
Instagram.
Do you actually really? Do you get a lot of dudes sliding into your DMs?
Is this podcast PG or?
You can swear, you can do whatever. It's already
Okay.
rated as I have
Um,
the explicit tag
guess-
next to it.
That was when you guys were at my house, Prickett. I think that was like 6 weeks ago. I had a message request and I clicked on it and looked at the guy's page and he had like one photo and it looked like it was a dude, but he was a feminine looking dude.
Right.
And he sent me a video and I'm like, I bet this is going to be a dick pic. And I showed Prickett. He goes, yeah, open it up and find out. And yeah, it was a dude jerking off.
Wow,
Yeah.
there's just like no shame anymore on social media.
No,
So I'm
just-
assuming you messaged this guy back. That would be
Yeah, I said, hey, what's up, man?
yeah, you gave him front row tickets. Part of me wonders if that was actually Rory McDonell just trying to like,
I didn't
disguise
think that.
himself. That's wild, eh?
The penis did look very familiar. It might have been Rory's.
It might have been Rory's, yeah. I guess what people don't I mean, it's weird for me to see you with a shirt off. This may be the first time in the history that I've known you that I've seen you wearing a shirt. So it's hard times for Aaron Jeffery. Oh,
repping,
look at that.
Bora.
Look at this guy repping Bora BJJ. That's amazing. Well, look, the first thing I want to know is, I mean, I haven't seen you in close to 5 months. I mean, you train at a Para Bellum MMA under Rory and Lyndon, and I'm used to seeing you, a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week. So, I mean, how have you handled all this? Like, how has your life changed? How's the training changed? And yeah, what have you been up to?
Like right now, everything feels like back to normal for me, and
Okay.
like we're doing like our small group sessions and stuff, and keeping it as safe as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know how legal that is, but yeah, I'm back to like full-time training now, like twice a day, every day.
Okay.
But for like 4 weeks, I think, like right when things started to shut down, I was pretty like hesitant about everything too. So I took like a full 4 weeks off training, which is like the first time I've done that in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that sucked. I mean, it might have been a little bit good for me mentally to like kind of take a refresher and stuff, but like 4 weeks and I like broke down. I'm like, yeah, that's enough. I'm getting back to the gym.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I know about you that's like, I feel like I mean, I'm sure a lot of pros are, but you just seem like above and beyond. Like, you're just sort of a gym rat. Like, they have to
Yeah.
like kick you out of the gym.
Yeah.
So, one of the first people I thought of when this was all going down is, I wonder what AJ's going to do, because
Just sitting at home going crazy.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
especially as a pro MMA fighter, imagine like what were you thinking when everything started to shut down? Like, what was the thought process? And
Well, at first I was like, okay, everyone's going to be not training, so this is going to be like an even playing field. Everyone will be taking time off, so I'm okay with that.
yeah,
And then like I messaged some guys that I know from the States, like some other pro fighters and stuff, and everyone was like, no, we're getting back in the gym and we're getting our work in just like one-on-one and whatever. And I was like, well, fuck, man, I can't be sitting at home like riding my Airdyne and doing push-ups all day. I gotta
Yeah.
like get out there and like do something again.
yeah, you've got that large male audience that you have to you got to keep those intense shirtless pics and those training
Exactly.
videos coming in.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, my followers were just dropping with no shirtless pics coming out.
really? So what's the living situation been like? Have you like did you move in with Chris Prickett and those guys during COVID, or has this been a situation that you've been in for a while now?
No, I've been here for probably about a year now, I think.
Okay.
I never really moved in. I just kind of phased myself in.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would come here for like some Brock practices, like a couple times a week. I would sleep on the couch. Started doing that a bit more often. One guy moved out. We put a mattress in his room. I started sleeping up there a bit more, and then before you knew it, I was just here every day.
Aaron's very much like a stray cat. They show up once in a while, you leave a little bit of food out, and before you know
Yeah,
it, you've adopted them.
yeah.
I guess for people that don't know, Chris Prickett is the head coach of the professional wrestling squad at Para Bellum, and he's
Professional
also
wrestling,
the professional.
like
I meant the
WWF.
pro. I meant the pro MMA fighters, but he also,
Okay.
yeah, he's also training people that are coming up in the WWE. But he does the pro sessions at Para Bellum, and he's also an assistant coach at Brock University, right, in the
Correct.
wrestling squad
Yep.
there with Marty
Yep.
Calder.
Exactly.
So to be honest, I kind of assumed that when all this went down, you just kind of jumped in there because you thought maybe, look, if I can live with these people, they're part of my social bubble, and we can get to some training or something like that. So,
No, I was here living here full time before, and actually, when I was off for 4 weeks, I went back to my mom's house.
and that's
Um,
where you're at a Tilsonburg, is that where it
yeah,
is?
at
Or
Telsonburg,
okay.
and that was like kind of the reason too that I was like not training. Like she's a bit older, and apparently COVID's so much worse for old
Yeah,
people. So like
absolutely, absolutely.
I was super careful while I was staying there with her.
Yeah, that's the thing that's been like I'm not terribly worried about myself. Like initially I was obviously, cuz I'm 42 almost and
Oh, I thought you were like 62.
yeah, I know. I'm aging like a bag of milk basically. But I appreciate that by the way. But no, I wasn't so much worried about myself as time went on, but my dad's got asthma and he's,
Yeah.
if I'm 60, my dad's probably 120 at this point. So I imagine that must be like, how is your family dealing with this? Like, have you kind of kept your distance for the most part, or what?
Um, no, they're all basically living their lives as normal at this point too. My mom is self-employed, so she can like do her own thing pretty
Okay.
well. Like she's a vet. She works a lot from home, and then she does like some farm calls and stuff. But yeah, she never stopped working throughout it all.
Yeah.
My sister's doing her master's in Montreal, which is like
Oh
the
man,
hotspot
yeah,
of
that was a
Canada
hot
for a
spot
while.
for sure.
So
Yep.
she got sent home for a few months, and she just actually went back a couple days ago. She's back in the lab now.
Okay.
And my brother's up in Thunder Bay, and he works in the hospital, so he was never off either.
Like what the hell? You're all a bunch of geniuses over there. Everybody's doing masters and PhDs, and here you're
Yeah,
getting punched in the face for a
I
living.
know. I know. I'm the black sheep of the family.
Are you really? Is that
Yeah, a
do
little
they
bit.
look at you
Yeah,
like that, you think?
I think so.
Yeah,
And I got the middle child syndrome too. So
I think it has more to do with the mustache and the hair than anything else.
my brother looks the same as me.
Does he
He's
actually? I
got a
think I've
mullet.
seen
He's got a
pictures. Yeah.
mullet and a mustache.
So that's just the Jeffrey genetics coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I wanted to, I know you. I've met you probably almost 3 years ago, I guess, two and a half,
hmm
3 years ago. I started going to Para Bellum a couple times a
It'll be
week.
three years. 3 years in May is when I started there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you had our anniversary, like on a calendar somewhere.
Yeah, May.
You had it marked on the calendar the first day you met Paul Federici. I appreciate that. There's just a little heart emoji next to it. No, but I mean, I've always known you kind of as this, pretty well established, polished professional fighter, great athlete. But like, the thing I don't know about you is like, where did this all start? Like, what were you like growing up? Were you an athlete, and what got you into martial arts to begin with?
Growing up, well, my parents made me do karate when I was like pretty young, and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I would hide before like karate lessons and try and get out of it somehow.
Yeah.
I probably did it for like a year or two.
Okay.
Then I quit. I played soccer like pretty much my whole life, probably like age 6 till
Really?
maybe like 16. Yeah. And then I had like a few years with like no sports at all actually in high school. I played football in grade 12. I hated that completely. I just did it because all my friends were doing it. When I was, yeah, maybe about 16, I found like a small like jujitsu and kickboxing gym in Tilsonburg,
Okay.
and me and my brother started training there. It was like very like low level training.
Right.
But then when I moved to Brock for school, I found a good MMA gym here and started training, and then stuck with it ever since.
Right, yeah. So you ended up coming into Niagara. Now that's I never ran into you there, but it's kind of ironic. Like I grew up basically at the bottom of the Brock Hill, like Glenridge, Glendale.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and my dad actually was a professor at Brock for 45
Oh,
years or something.
what did he teach?
He was in like Italian studies, literature, all
Okay.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Nice.
just a short. You probably saw him walking up and down the hill a million times because I'd always steal the car. But so yeah, so you come to Niagara, and then where were you training out of? And did you start doing just traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or like I think I saw a picture of you in a gi somewhere, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so it was like primarily a jiu-jitsu gym, but
Okay.
no, I started doing everything, and they had like a decent MMA team. It was Modern Vision MMA in
Okay,
Welland.
yeah, I'm familiar with
And
those guys.
actually, like a bunch of the guys that you would probably know, the MMA fighters in Ontario, actually all started at this one gym. So
Okay.
me, Anthony Romero,
Yeah.
Vlad started. That was Vlad's first gym, I think, when he came to Canada.
Yep.
Matt
Oh,
DeMarcantonio.
okay, yeah. So a lot of these Niagara
Um,
top team
yeah,
crew
Matt
is
DeCenzo was one of the guys there. He had, I think, 3 pro fights. Eric Attard
right.
had a pretty good. Yeah, Matt McDonald. I think that might have actually been his first jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
Matt McDonald is a guy that I used to train with. He is the owner of Bora Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, which is where Aaron kind of reps. And Matt's phenomenal. Like Matt's one of the like his rise to black belt was like super fast.
Dude, so he started there and he was like a chubby white belt, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
left for a few months and came back and just was like messing everyone up. And I was
Yeah.
like, where the fuck did this guy come from?
Oh, absolutely. Like I remember because I met Matt. I think he was a blue belt maybe when he came to Pura in Hamilton, which is where I train out of there and Para Bellum now. And I just remember, yeah, like kind of a sort of kind of quiet guy, heavier guy, but like he was always pretty athletic. He always played sort of like he wasn't a big guy in the sense that he would just try to smash you. Like his guard game developed incredibly well, and he just started like it just made sense to him, and he got good
Yeah,
so fast. So that's interesting
crazy,
too. I never
man.
really knew that
Yeah,
he started in at Modern Vision there in Welland as well. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
is that where you like? When did MMA kind of come onto your radar in terms of like you starting to fight? Like, did you get into this gym because you felt like, I want to fight, or was it like I just like what was the draw to going back to martial arts since you seem to dislike, football and that kind of stuff? Like,
Yeah. I think in high school, like hanging out with like kind of a ruckus crowd and like getting in fights, and I was like a
oh,
skinny little
really? Eh?
emo kid.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
skinny
yeah,
emo kid with like the hair on my face and the black clothes and the skinny jeans.
that's
So we
crazy.
kind of got like picked on at parties and stuff. So I think
Right.
that's why I started training initially. Um, and then yeah, I just enjoyed it, and I always liked watching UFC and stuff. So
Was
yeah.
there a particular like do you remember like just try to give me an idea of where you were like what year was this and like do you remember some of the UFCs you were watching like some of the events like
Uh,
cuz for me I remember what kind of got me into jiu-jitsu was like watching the first Ultimate Fighter. I
yeah,
remember like watching that show and really being like, "Oh wow, this is crazy." So
yeah.
do you have like a specific memory of a fight or fighters that kind of really sort of motivated you?
The first UFC event, my brother had it on DVD. There was two events on it, but I know the one was Vitor Belfort versus Randy Couture,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and the fight ended up like as a dud because I think Randy Couture got his eye cut open by the glove and it ended right away.
Right, right.
But that was the first event that I saw. But like before that, it was like watching street fight videos on YouTube, like all the Kimbo stuff. I thought was awesome. Um,
Right.
like
Okay,
Kim,
so you were into all that stuff too. You were into those
yeah, yeah, yeah.
backyard brawl type things,
And
right?
like if there was fights at parties, like that was the coolest thing. Um,
I
so yeah,
just
I
have a
guess I
hard time reconciling like emo Aaron Jeffrey with the skinny
I
jeans and the
know,
Justin Bieber haircut as the fighter. I think that's
I know,
awesome.
I know. Yeah, I think again, like me and like my one buddy specifically, we were both like emo kids. He grew up with me on my street, and yeah, we had to stand up for ourselves. So
What? So tell me what was on the Aaron Jeffrey emo playlist back in the day? What were you listening to? Like Dashboard Confessional or something like that?
never a dashboard guy. Like Death
That's
Cab
old.
though. Death
Okay.
Cab, Taking Back Sunday. Um, who else? Like Fall Out Boy, I liked a lot. I still
Okay.
like them.
Okay.
I'm kind of like screamo bands from first to last.
I just really dated myself there because you're only what like what are you 26, 27?
27.
27. Okay, so I'm a
Yeah,
little bit older than you, so
yeah.
probably that's dating myself there with that reference. But
With Dashboard?
what's that? Is
What
wasn't
with
it? I feel like was
Dashboard?
Dashboard like early
Yeah,
2000s? I don't even remember. I
maybe
don't know.
90s. I don't know.
I have no idea. But okay, so you're at Modern Vision, you start this, and where does it go from there? Like you start getting into it. Did you do any sort of amateur fights there? Were you like what motivated you then to get to that next level of training? And ultimately, I guess what motivated you leaving, or how did you end up connecting with Para Bellum and Rory McDonell and all that?
So after training there for probably a year, maybe 2 years, the coach Chris Monfoco one day asked me about taking an amateur fight, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I hadn't even really considered that, but
Right.
sure, I guess I'll do it." And I got my ass kicked in my first fight, but I loved it, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And I went back home and told my friends that I had a cage fight, like a real MMA fight, and everyone
Right.
thought it was sick. So I stuck with it, and then started having like 3 or 4 amateur fights a year. I had 9 amateur fights while I was
Oh,
there.
okay. I didn't know you had such an extensive amateur career.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the reason I left there is because I ended up moving from Niagara into Hamilton.
Okay.
So it just like wasn't feasible for me to keep training there.
Right, right.
I had trained at Para a few times before. Matt Antonio, I think he knew Rory or something, so he brought a few of us out there. So that was just like a gym where I knew one person, so I just went there when I moved to Hamilton.
Okay. And what brought you out there? Was that just part of your degree, or what brought you out to Hamilton?
No, I was my ex-girlfriend. She had just finished her master's, and I was done school.
Okay.
And I had a job at a nutrition clinic, and they had a location in Niagara, but they also had one in Hamilton, so it was an easy switch for me to make.
Okay.
And she was going back that way to work, so it was just kind of easy for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my road to getting out to Hamilton was sort of similar. I ended up moving out to Grimsby with a girlfriend, but like I was training in Niagara, and I remember kind of like the scene wasn't kind of quite what it was now. Like it seems like, you've got the Niagara Top Team crew and you've got, Evolve and all this kind of stuff. So it's really cool to
Hmm.
see how it's grown. But I remember being up towards Hamilton, and I know Rory was up there with well, he was actually our jiu-jitsu coach when Pura first opened. So that's how I met
Hmm.
him. But just being up towards that area, I just felt like the training was a little better, and I'm sure it was a good fit for you trying to take the next
For
step in your
sure,
career.
for
So
sure.
so what were you studying at Brock? You're a nutritional science or a bachelor of science? Is that what you have?
Bachelor of Science in Medical Sciences.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you became what was this job you were doing? Like where did that take you in terms of your career? Like what was the goal that you wanted to pursue when you were done with it?
I don't think I really had like an exact goal. I knew I always liked health and biology and
Right.
science and that kind of stuff, and this was like kind of a little bit general, I guess, this degree, like aimed towards like medicine and research and stuff like that, but a
Right.
little bit more open. So I think I just kind of picked a program that suited me and went with like no really serious long-term plans.
Yeah, and so I understand that you kind of got into was it a diet clinic? Is that where you were working for a while? Is that what
Yeah,
you
so
ended
it's
up
like
doing?
a weight loss, diabetes, and cardiology
Okay.
clinic that I worked at. Yeah.
So you're dealing with like fat people, old people like me basically that are coming in and
Yeah, there was a few kind of like average Joe, like old guys with a bit of a belly, or like the 45-year-old mom who's already like super skinny but like wanted to be even more skinny,
yeah,
and those kind of
absolutely.
people. But yeah, like a lot of bigger unhealthy people, like on a lot of meds, like dealing with a lot of health stuff.
And so what was your role in that? Just kind of getting their meals back, and were you advising them on sort of like exercise science and nutrition, like what was kind of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
game plan?
Yeah. Um,
You would just walk around with your shirt off and be like, "Look, if you want to look like this guy right here, just follow me around for a couple weeks."
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, like I think at first when I started working there, I was like kind of following all the rules and guidelines that they had set for us. But by the end of it, I was kind of like more free flowing. Like I'd sit down and talk to them just like this and shoot this shit and swear a little bit and be like a normal person. I think that that worked a lot well for a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
they didn't want to have someone that was like reading notes and like giving them a diet that was like prescribed to everyone. So I just kind of talked to people about whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of that kind of just like I feel like this cookie cutter kind of approach. So it's
Mhm.
probably nice to have somebody that's young and well educated and the thing that I like, I mean, so you ended up starting Jeffery Nutrition, right? Is that like a business you
Yep.
started? Is that like
Yep.
something? Okay. And I follow your posts on social media a lot. And what I like is you seem to have like I've gone through my own sort of I've never been trained in nutrition, but just being a kid that struggled with I was super fat when I was a kid, and it's, I've always played around with my diet and exercise and nutrition. And so it's like I've kind of been on the wave of trying a lot of these sort of fad diets and all this. And so over the years, I feel like I've come to some conclusions kind of the hard way. But what I like about you is, you're not really pushing like the fanatical, the sensational headline. You seem to have a really good, science-based approach, which I feel like is super lacking in the fitness industry now,
Yeah, because it doesn't sell, man. Like I have.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's probably to your detriment.
My business is certainly not booming because I'm not telling anyone anything exciting. Like they want to hear like something magical that I have, like a secret diet that's gonna work for everyone, and like take this one supplement and like only eat these foods or whatever. And they don't get that from me, and that's not exciting. And it's like just be consistent and lower your calories and whatever. But yeah, people want to hear like exciting, crazy stuff, right?
Yeah, like you're the kind of guy that you could, if you were an asshole, you could basically take pictures of yourself and of you drinking a supplement, and you're jacked, and people would believe it, and you could probably make a lot of money. And I see that, so much, and it's sad because my sister is somebody that she has her PhD in clinical psychology, and she deals with eating disorders, right? And so she sees a lot of people that are following these kind of crazy suggestions and diets, and they end up getting themselves into a really bad place. So, I appreciate having somebody like you that's actually kind of out there, not following the crazy trend of trying to make sales, Do you feel pressure to do that at all? Like, do you feel like you need to do something to sort of stand out more or something?
Maybe if I was like more invested in my business, like I'm invested in it, and like when I have clients I want to do everything I can for them, but like I'm so focused on fighting right now that I'm not putting a ton of time into like my marketing or anything like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, maybe if that was my like sole income, I would feel pressured probably to kind of put some of that stuff out there for sure.
Well, one guy I know you follow that I like to follow as well on Instagram and all that kind of stuff is Lane Norton. Like I really like his posts a lot, and it's crazy how much sort of BS science is out there that has to get debunked. And it seems like in the fitness industry you get like there's a bit of maybe a wave of a bit of research emerging about a trend, the way to eat, but then science ultimately debunks it. But it takes years for the fitness industry to like catch up to the real science,
Yeah, for sure.
You must see a lot of that, eh?
Yeah, and people like, if you just go to like Google News or something like that and click on health, and you see like, oh, scientists found like this new food that's gonna help with weight loss or whatever. And when you like dig deep enough into it, like the study was actually like we gave some cells in a petri dish, this like or even like worse than that, like it's literally like cells in a dish, and they gave them like a protein, and it turned off this gene that like has something to do with like fat metabolism or something. And then you get like the Daily Mail writing like, oh, just eat this food and you're gonna lose like 400 pounds in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's sad, and people eat that shit up. Like, I mean, I feel like, I fell into kind of the low carb trap a little bit because like I felt like, that was the way to do it, and it made sense.
Me too, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was like when I first started like reading about like diet, nutrition and stuff. I think I was like for sure on the low carb bandwagon. Actually, paleo I think was like what got me into nutrition, was like the paleo diet.
Okay, well that's interesting because I remember like, and I started to go low carb when I started to really ramp up my training a lot too, and so I noticed that like I couldn't sleep well at night, and like my sex drive was gone, and it's like, and I'd get my blood work and my testosterone was like in the toilet, and I would be like, and I obviously like they don't tell you a lot about that, and of course not everybody's going to be affected the same way by it, but there are a lot like, and I'm not trying to shit on it, I just mean that like people think that it's this magic bullet, but it can also, you might lose a little bit of weight, but then there could be all these other side effects that you're not even aware of from it,
For sure.
Like what's your sort of general principle or guideline for people that want to lose weight, like in an effective way? Like what do you tell people as a general rule of thumb?
Well, the first thing I always get people to do is like track what they're doing right now, so I can see what their diet's like and build off of that.
Right.
Because again, like these cookie cutter programs or like even just assigning something to someone that's like totally different from what they're doing now is going to be so hard to stick to. So if you like work with their base diet and make the tweaks there, chances are it's going to be a lot more sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't change like all 3 of your meals 7 days a week. Like you're not going to completely overhaul it all at once and expect that to work long term.
Yeah. Do you have a hard time
Yes.
selling people on that? I feel like they're kind of reluctant to like want to buy into that. I feel like they're like, no, 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 I saw this pill or this supplement that
For sure, and sometimes you just have to go along with it too. They're like,
yeah.
no, 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 like I think like cabbage soup is like the best thing, and like I need to be eating this like at least 3 times a week. And I
Yeah.
say, all right, let's do your cabbage soup. Let's do that, and let's also do these other things too.
I had a girl that I worked with that she went on a diet that she couldn't eat anything that started with the letter P. Like she couldn't eat potatoes or I didn't
Yeah,
even know what else, but she was like she
pasta.
like swore by pasta,
Yeah,
pasta. So
yeah,
basically a low carb diet is pretty much what
yeah,
it was. So
yeah,
but no, I think anybody that's listening definitely follow Aaron. It's at Jeffery Nutrition. Do you have a website too for that or no? Is it
yeah,
just
yeah. It's jeffreynutrition.com.
okay? I would just highly recommend it because he's a very like long term oriented, like healthy, and that's what I appreciate about you too. Is like I feel like there's a lot of bro science in professional sports, especially in like MMA. Like I see
For
a lot.
sure.
Do you
Yeah.
see that? Am I off on that? I just feel like people are trying to get these weird. There's a lot of weak science on these supplements, and they're trying to push them to everybody. And I don't know.
Yeah,
What's your
and
perspective?
yeah, too many MMA fighters listen to Joe Rogan,
Oh God,
who
yeah,
is apparently like this big nutrition expert.
yeah, he
He
really
loves
is.
the low carb stuff and is on its supplements and whatever. So like you try to have a fucking conversation in the MMA gym about nutrition and it's like everyone going back to Joe Rogan and I should just eat like jalapeno peppers and like elk
It's just
steaks all the
yeah,
time.
but
And
you got to hunt it. You got to kill it
you gotta hunt it
yourself. That
yourself,
yeah,
obviously. Yeah, for sure.
in the
Yeah.
wilderness of Niagara, you got to go find some elk. Well, I know
Yeah.
he's big into that whole carnivore thing, and it just, I mean, I'm not saying there's no. I know red meat has a lot of nutrients and all that, but like I can't see
Yeah.
just eating meat 24/7 as being healthy, particularly.
No, and there's always gonna be like tons and tons of anecdotes. Like I don't know if you know who Sean Baker is.
I think I've
I
heard the
think he
name,
was like
but
the first proponent of the carnivore diet. He's an
okay.
MD and he's like pretty famous online now.
Is he dead
And
now?
no, he's
He had a heart attack.
he's like 55 years old and he's like 230 pounds shredded.
Wow.
Yeah, he's crazy and he breaks all these records for like on the rowing machine and stuff. But like you go to his website and there's probably like hundreds and hundreds of people saying how well it worked for them and how many things it
Yeah.
cured. But yeah, I don't see that being super healthy long term either.
Well, there's two things. I feel like a lot of these guys that say that, not most of them, but a lot of them are also on performance enhancing drugs. Like Joe's
Yeah,
on a cocktail of stuff, and I'm not trying to shit on him for that. He's free to do that. I just mean it's easy for somebody that's artificially like improving their
yeah,
hormones, whereas
yeah.
if a natural guy like me or you tried it, it might help in some ways, but then all these sort of lipids and hormones and stuff might crash. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's his life too, right? Like he podcasts and does UFCs and probably trains like twice a day every day and
Yeah.
sleeps as much as he wants
Yeah,
and
exactly.
whatever, right? So yeah, it's different than the average Joe trying to do the carnivore diet and like sit in an office desk 5 days a week.
It's all about the alpha brain. That's what I
Could be
think.
it.
Yeah.
Could be the alpha brain.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really interesting, man. So yeah, definitely check out Jeffery Nutrition. It's not the sexiest of headlines, but it's real life stuff, and I think it's really smart, long term, sustainable like habits and suggestions. And it's like I feel like you're the guy that people are going to come to after they've gone through all the horse shit, and they've lost 30 pounds, and then they gain 50 pounds back, and I think you can lose weight in the short term, but to keep it off long term, you have to have these, healthy, sustainable like habits.
I agree, and I appreciate the plug. Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get into just sort of, life as a fighter for you. So you ended up turning pro. Like you weren't even a full-time, not pro, but a full-time
Uh-huh.
training. When did
Yeah.
that happen? And what was the tipping point for you? Like when did you say, okay, I'm turning the corner now?
Well, like long after I turned pro did I like commit full time. Like originally when I went pro, I think I was just in school, so I was like training and doing school at the same time, and that was kind of tough. And then for a while, I was like training and working and doing school. So
Okay.
like that was like a balancing act. And I didn't commit full time to training until last March when I got the contract for the Contender Series.
Okay,
Uh,
yep,
that
that's right.
that's when I quit the job at the clinic and committed full time.
Okay, so you waited for that big opportunity to do it. So
Exactly.
what sort of changed for you after that? Like do you feel like there was a big change in your ability to sort of train better and recover more? Like did you feel like what you were doing was really interfering with your ability to get the most out of yourself?
Yeah, what you just said, it's the recovery. It's not
Okay.
like the amount of training. I mean, you can always squeeze in training sessions before work, after
Right.
work, whatever. And there'd be some days that I would go in with Lucas Chaston at Para Bellum, and we
Yep.
would do like an early, like 7 a.m. session. I would shower, eat at the gym, then I would go to work all day, then I would go back to the gym at night. So like it's not impossible to get your training in, but it's the recovery. Like some nights I was probably only sleeping 6 hours, and then I had to be in the office all day and like on my feet and walking around and just keeping my brain engaged and then go straight to the gym. And like I always remember my pad sessions. So I would do an early morning session with Lucas. I would
Okay.
go work like 7 hours at the clinic, and then I would go straight to the gym Wednesday night and do a pad session. And like I couldn't remember a combo to save my life. Like my body felt fine. I
But the
felt okay there, but
cognitive
like
function and
my
all that,
brain was
yeah.
just like not on.
That's pretty wild. And like, so
Yeah.
how many days a week were you doing that? Like, I mean, like I said, you strike me as the kind of guy that's literally never not in the gym. So was this a
Yeah.
six day a week kind of thing, or?
So the most I'd ever worked at the clinic was probably 5 days a week, but that
Okay.
was like infrequent. I was like kind of in between part-time and full-time. Towards the end of it, it was like 3, 4 days a week most of the time. So yeah, 3, 4 days a week, I would be at the clinic all day and then at the gym all night and then do it all over again.
And so now that that's out of the picture, like, what is it? Just really the recovery? Like, you're just able to have more time to nap and sleep and kind of get all that sort
Dude,
of in.
that 100%. I was just telling someone at the gym, like this week I've been in bed at 9:30, like lights out, phone off by 10, getting like probably a solid 9 hours, and then also having like an hour nap during the day.
Yeah. Well, it's so
Yeah,
funny too. Like we talk about nutrition and like people want a magic bullet, but it's like so many people just don't rest enough, right? They hit the gym
man, that's
hard and they don't
so crazy
recover
too.
and they don't sleep and then they wonder
Yeah,
why. Because I've even seen like stuff you've published where like lack of sleep can kind of crank up your hunger hormones and your stress
yeah,
hormones are all
yeah,
out of whack. So
yeah.
it's such a small singular thing you can do, but
That's yeah. If you're not sleeping properly, like we just talked about it a little bit when we were messaging before this, and like you're telling me like I don't know, you messaged me at 3:30 in the morning, and then I replied this morning, and then you replied right away at like 6:30 a.m. And I'm like, what? This guy just didn't sleep all night or what?
oh, dude, I'm messed up. Like
That's
I
bad.
think I have like a legit sleep cycle disorder. Like, cause I've been like that my whole life. Like, I've
Yeah,
had jobs where I was every day getting up early at the same time, but like you give me a day and it's like my body just peaks at night. Like it's
nocturnal.
so
Yeah.
weird. So
And that is a thing too. There's the people that have like the different circadian rhythm. It's super
yeah,
rare. Like you're probably like a 1 or 2% kind of guy,
yeah,
but that's a thing for
I am,
sure.
yeah, I am pretty special that way. I'm also disabled,
Um,
so I have
but yeah, what I was gonna say is like at the clinic, especially people would come in and they'd be like, I'm so tired. Like, can you check my blood work? Do you think I'm deficient in something? Like, do you think I'm iron deficient? What is it? And you ask them like, well, how
did
much are
you
you
sleep?
sleeping? And
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know, like 3, 4 hours a night. I'm like, did you consider that might be making you tired?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And like,
Yeah.
but it's too simple, right? People want crazy,
They
like,
want the supplement. They
yeah.
want the one food they can eat, whatever.
So you're a full time fighter now. Tell me about that lifestyle. Like, is it? I mean, it seems it's such an unusual kind of way to live your life. Like, you're
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Probably some of your friends are, getting into the like that must be kind of a very disruptive thing in your life. Like, just tell me what the day to day is like and how you see it in relation to maybe some of your other friends and what do they think of what you do and that sort of thing.
Um, I don't know what they think of it. They tell me they think it's cool, but who
Yeah.
knows what they're saying? Like maybe they're like this guy's a bum. All he does
Yeah.
is like hang out in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
But no, man, every day is pretty much exactly the same. Wake up, eat breakfast, go to the gym, come home, eat lunch, take a nap, eat dinner, go to the gym, come home, eat the last meal, go to bed.
And are
Every
you
day.
the kind of guy that like I mean, you probably must be. Like I can be super boring. Like I don't care. I can if I get into a
Yeah,
routine that I'm happy with, I don't feel
yeah,
like, sure I want to go on a vacation once in a while, but
yeah,
I could get up and eat the same thing like and
yeah.
people are like, "Oh, you're so dedicated." And it's kind of like I am, but I also like living like that. So I don't is that what you're like
Yeah.
too?
People always talk to me about like willpower and I work so hard and all this stuff. And maybe initially it was that, but I enjoy it. And also at this point, it's like autopilot, right? Like you do the
Yeah.
same thing every day for like 3 years. Eventually, that's like it's not work to do that
It's
same
just,
thing. It's just part of your life. It just happens. Yeah.
Okay. I know one thing you've struggled with, and you're kind of in this in-between zone where, like, I've seen people like Josh Hill get into, is like, you're building a name, you're successful, and it's like, now people don't want to fight you. You're kind of stuck in between, you know, the big show, and now you're trying to get regional fights, and it's like, people are like, well, I don't want to fight this guy, he's good. Is that a frustration you've experienced? And tell me a bit about that.
For sure, man. Like if you look at my Tapology record and like see how many canceled fights are on there, like one
yeah, I
fight,
looked at it. There's a bunch of gray blocks. I'm like, what? Oh, they're canceled. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man, it sucks. And like part of it is because Canada doesn't have a big MMA scene. The middleweight division is pretty shallow, I think, in Canada and the States. So that's part of it. But yeah, guys pick fights, and I mean, I don't blame them. Like, you're not getting paid to fight on the regional scene, right? So I don't want to fight some killer for like $1,000. Like, I'll fight this guy in the UFC, but do I want to fight him for $1,000 with like 200 fans watching? Not really. So you got to understand it a little bit.
And it seems like still in this day and age, like the numbers are so, like, you could fight subpar opponents, but you've got a 10-1 record, and the UFC is going to be like, oh, look at this guy, you know, or he's getting finishes, and it's like, maybe you're not fighting tough guys, you know. So I imagine there's that pressure there too to kind of maintain the optics of a record, right?
For sure, man. That's part of the sport, and people kind of like talk shit about it, but like everyone does it. Like, what the Habib's record is, like, what, 26-0 or something?
Yeah.
Like, and he got to the UFC at, I don't know, like 15-0 or 18-0 or whatever. But do you think like those 15 or 18 guys were all like killers? No, they were probably like some dude they found on the street in Russia.
I'm not going to name who this is, but I know I'm a big fan of some of Eddie Bravo's guys in the jiu-jitsu community, and I know that I've heard him talk about some of his fighters on Joe Rogan Experience, and I looked up one of his guys in particular, and like all the guys he fought that he won were literally like 1-20, 1-15, 2-10, and it's like, but nobody really does the sort of the homework and on the back end to sort of you know, expose that a little bit, you know.
But like Habib, his record is probably something like that, like fighting a lot of guys with like bad records, but you get all that experience and you get to the UFC, and it's not like he's doing poorly now. It's not like he got a tough matchup and like didn't know how to deal with it.
No, I would almost argue, like, look what's kind of happened to, like, you follow Bellator, like Aaron Pico. There's a young guy that has all the potential, and they just kind of threw him right into young guy, and now he's been knocked out brutally a few times, and it's like, maybe there is an argument there to, I mean, there's probably a middle ground where you're not trying to fight cans, but like you don't also want to go, oh cool, I'm going to fight the next Khabib in my second fight or whatever. You know?
And Pico is probably the type of guy too that like chose those fights also. He probably thinks he deserves to be there, and he wants the toughest guys right now. But yeah, it was just too early for him.
Yeah, well, I've put on some weight. I'm cruising right now at about 185, so I'm coming for that belt. I'm It's stupid. Like, I just
big dog.
No, it's not. I look a little it's like a little bit of muscle, but it's mostly just in my stomach and my legs. So I'll be the Roy Nelson to your Luke Rockhold or something like that. So if you need a fight, man, I'm up for it. Just we'll stage the beginning. We'll do some jiu-jitsu stuff, and then just you can TKO me for the belt. I'd really like to touch on something. And total credit to you. You were just like, I asked you, like, can we talk about this? And you were like, I'm an open book. And I really respect you. And the only reason I want to bring this up is because I admire kind of what went into it and how you responded. But talk to me a bit about the Dana White experience. So you get this call, you get a contract to go to the Contender Series last year. What was the training like for that? What was the experience like leading up and then sort of after it?
Sorry, one second. I just gotta plug in here.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah, like I said, I quit the clinic when I got the contract for Contender Series and started training full time. And I think I had like 4 months of full time training, so that was awesome for me to finally be like a full time fighter. And man, the whole thing was sweet. Like they fly you down to Vegas a couple months in advance. You do all the media stuff. You go to the PI. They show you around.
Yeah.
You meet Forrest Griffin. He's the one that tours you. They give you free food, all this stuff. You see your face on like national television for the first time. That's awesome. And like everything's just run so professionally. So yeah, it was all sick. I mean,
it must be quite a contrast, I guess, from some of the, I'm sure you've had experiences with some of these regional promotions where it's pretty like, I'm sure some of them are great, but I'm sure you've also had experiences that are pretty
Oh man,
sketchy.
I fought in Ohio at the fairgrounds. We fought like outside in front of the bleachers. I weighed in on a bathroom scale on a piece of plywood that was like on a dirt road. Like, yeah, I've seen
Oh
I've seen
man.
the opposite ends of the spectrum for sure.
I had a friend, I don't want to take you off track. I just had a friend a long time ago that fought on a Indian reserve somewhere, and they didn't have the people were like, I didn't do my blood work. They're like, all right, whatever. There's like the promoters doing coke in the bathroom.
Oh yeah,
There's no EMTs. There's no ambulance. Like, it was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. So
for
I'm
sure.
sure then to obviously see that kind of thing, and then all of a sudden you're in like sort of the Trump Tower of
Yeah,
MMA.
the
So
best of the best.
what's like? Tell me what kind of a fighter are you mentally? Like, what goes through your head going into these things? Like, were you feeling a ton of anxiety? Did you feel calm, confident? Like, what goes through your head with all this stuff?
Honestly, I don't think it changed my mindset going into
Yeah.
the fight. Like it feels different for sure beforehand, but I think probably most fighters would say the same thing. Like once you're in the cage, it doesn't really feel any different.
Right.
Uh, Contender Series doesn't have an audience. Maybe that was part of it too. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't loud in there or anything. Maybe if you were fighting in front of like tens of thousands of people, that would be different. But no, it didn't feel a whole lot different once I was there.
Okay. So yeah, that must have been like. Did you feel like the experience of fighting in an empty arena was that kind of surreal to you, or did you not even really notice?
You don't even really notice it,
Yeah.
man.
Okay. It
Yeah.
seemed well. We're getting used to it now because every UFC card is basically
Yeah.
COVID.
You notice I think you notice it way more on TV than you actually do, like being there.
Right.
Like when I was in the cage, like it didn't seem any different, but then yeah, you watch on TV and it's like so silent, you hear everything.
Yep.
That's weird.
Well, so we talk about the fight. It didn't go your way. A really tough guy, and I sort of messaged you because he fought in the UFC after. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, what's sort of going through your head after the fact? It doesn't quite work out how you wanted. What's sort of the thought process? Like, I would imagine there's a lot of roller coaster emotions going through there. Like, did you
You mean
handle
like yeah, immediately after?
Yeah, like I mean, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't,
Not
I
at
have
all.
no
No.
idea. Like I beat myself up. I have shit performances in the gym and jujitsu. I just wonder what goes through people's heads after like not the way it wanted to go for you. Like what
Yeah.
were you thinking about things there at that point?
Such a like weird like empty feeling because
Yeah.
it was 4 months of like only thinking about this one moment and building up to it and talking about being in the UFC soon and like everyone telling me like can't wait till you're there, you're gonna win this fight, all this shit. And then you go out there and my fight was like maybe 3 minutes long and then you're back in the change room and it's like it's over already and I didn't get what I wanted. There's
Yeah.
no like I don't get a second chance. There's no round two. It's just that it's 2 minutes and you're one and done and that's it.
Yeah.
And no one like talked to me like no one from UFC talks to you afterwards. It's just like
They're just like, see
now
you
you're-
later. Thanks for
see you.
coming.
Yeah, here's your shuttle bus home.
Here's your T-shirt. Here's your Dana White
Yeah.
Contender
Thanks for coming.
Series T-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing, the reason I wanted to bring it up, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I was curious about your mentality about it, but for me personally, just watching you from a distance, I was really impressed with how you handled it kind of in the aftermath initially and even long term, because you guys went on a cool trip. Like the coaches look like you guys went to, where was that? Were you in Vegas? Is that you guys kind of went on a hiking?
Yes. Yeah, we were in Vegas for a couple days after. And then we went out to Yosemite National Park in California.
Yep.
And then we did Mammoth Lake. And then we did Lake Tahoe as well, I think.
Which must have been a pretty cool, like, you seem to have a really good connection with the coaches there. I mean, I would imagine having an experience like that after a disappointment probably was a good sort of way to start
And
the
it
healing
was
process.
so perfect because I had like a week or 8 days or whatever it was of like not having to think about the fight at all. And obviously
Yep.
we talked about it. We were drinking and talking about that stuff and probably crying a little bit and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's an
man,
emotional
be-
experience, man. Fuck.
yeah, for sure. But like to have your mind kept busy like
Yeah.
that for the next 8 days or whatever was like perfect.
Well, the piece that I was saying that I really respected is like, you kind of just made a post where you just like, it was just kind of short and it was just like, you know what? No excuses, and
Yeah.
I know I see it, and I'm not, again, this is not the same thing as jiu-jitsu, but I see a lot of people that even in jiu-jitsu make, they don't have a performance they want, but it's always, my knee wasn't great,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, I just admire people that take a loss and they're just like, I wasn't good enough today,
Yeah.
back to the drawing board. And it
Yeah.
didn't seem to derail you in the sense of like
Yeah.
throw you off too much. Is that how you were feeling? Like, or was that kind of just,
Yeah, no, for sure. And
yep.
what's like the scariest thing about that too is like people will not train properly, or they'll go out and drink, or they'll go into it like having an injury.
Yeah.
So they have that like way out.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause that's an easier way out, right? But for me, it was like I trained for 4 months as hard as I could. I had no injuries. Everything went perfectly. Weight cut was perfect. I felt fucking awesome that day. So I have no excuse. It was just like I got beat by a better guy that night, right? So that's scary to have to know like if I lose this, it's just 100% on me. Um, so it's scary, but you still feel accomplished after. Like it fucking sucks that I lost, but I still did everything I could. I went there, I fought, and I accomplished that, right? So there's still some like nice relief after a loss if you put everything into it, I think.
I think so, and the reason I like it is I do think it's a really good, it's a great mentality because I think it's more of a growth mindset. Like you're in a sport that's incredibly difficult. Like it's going to have, even for the best of people, it's huge highs and low lows, and it's like if you're gonna survive that, you kind of have to be like, take what you can from it.
Yeah.
What went wrong, figure it out, go to the gym, and just move on with it. So I was really impressed with that because I've seen people with much less stakes, like a local jiu-jitsu tournament as like a blue belt or something, and it's like the minute it doesn't go right, it's all these, and I just don't think those people ever realize how good they could be because they're always leaving a little crutch, or they're leaving that door open to kind of get out.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
you know,
Even in the gym, right? You see guys that are
oh
making excuses in the gym or like avoiding the tough rolls or whatever it is, and that's not how you're gonna get better. You gotta like set your ego aside and
yeah.
go in there and do what you can. If you lose, you lose, and that's how you get better.
But that's the one thing, like, I've always, from a distance, admired about you is that you seem like, I mean, you're kind of an anomaly a little bit in the game where you're like, you're a super well-educated guy. You just seem very grounded. Like, you seem to have a good sense of yourself. You're a good person. I've always appreciated the fact that, like, I've seen you in the gym. You've come back. You won the BTC title. You're the same dude. You're like, hey, PFed, what's up? You always say hi. You've gone to Dana White. And it's like, no matter what, you've always been, to me, there's been no arrogance. There's been no, I'm hot shit. When you could easily be like that. So I appreciate that. And I think it's easy to root for you. And I think people should root for you because you have kind of this personality and skill set and talent that it is not all that common, in the sport. So I don't know if that's a Tilsonberg thing or what.
No, I appreciate you saying that because like I've heard from like friends of friends, like people at gyms, like Para Bellum, like apparently people think I am like a stuck-up guy, and I'm like, I do think I'm hot shit, and I think like I'm a little bit shy and I don't like go out of my way to talk to people that I don't know and stuff. But I've been told a few times by like different people that some people think I'm like super stuck up or something.
I don't know. Like you said, I don't think you don't strike me as like, you're not the kind of guy that, yeah, you're a little more low key. But
Yeah,
to me, I don't know. Like I go to that gym and I'm training and I'm a 42-year-old guy doing random jiu-jitsu, but you've always been very nice to me. And I've met people that have had a fraction of the success that you've had in jiu-jitsu or whatever, and they already think they're hot shit. And it's just, I don't know. I would disagree strongly with that, but I think perception can be deceiving sometimes. I don't.
For sure.
So I wouldn't necessarily believe that. I would say if I had to pick anybody, you would be the last that I would probably say that about. So I think you have this like a great mentality, and even I saw after the fact, like the guy fought in the UFC, and you were kind of posting pictures of like, haha, it's me, when you were kind of I just,
that's me getting choked out.
Yeah, no, but it's
like
easy it's easy to root for you, and I do think that the guy that you fought was like one of the best guys on the season and a really high prospect. Like,
sure,
that was not So I hope you don't beat yourself up too much for that, because I just think that I admire people that go out. I've said this to Rory and Lyndon too, that like I've seen them have big wins, and I've seen fights where they had like, brutal bloody losses, and it's like I almost respect people more in those moments that still plug forward, because that's the hardest part. It's easy when you're on the show and everything goes well and everybody's in your corner, but it's like you see the true heart of people when they fall and they move on with the class of somebody that won, so
that's when you see the real you.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, that's when you see like who actually gave a shit about your fight.
Yeah.
who wanted to be friends with a UFC fighter and who
Yeah.
actually gave a shit about like you, Aaron Jeffrey, as a person. Because like the amount of messages that I received before that fight and afterwards compared to like what I have for this upcoming fight, crazy, not even comparable.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to know you because you were a UFC guy, so I've just, that was really. No, I'm just kidding. But like, so I think too sometimes people they don't quite know what to say if you lose too. They're kind of like they don't
Yeah,
want to talk about it. It's like
for sure.
there's like a funeral.
Like
There's a
even you, it's been over a year now, and you're still like, oh man, can we talk about this? Is it a touchy
well,
subject?
and
Like,
I don't know because like. And I didn't mean that to be condescending. It's just I don't
no,
know
no, no.
if that's something you don't want to
Yeah,
talk about. Like I don't want to put you in a bad
yeah.
spot. And I'm sure for some people, it would be. But again, I think that's just a testament to sort of your character. But yeah, I think it's such a crazy sport, So, but look, talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Para Bellum and Rory and Lyndon. Like,
Uh-huh.
like you guys seem to have a great connection. When did you decide to go full time there? And talk to me just a bit about that coach relationship you have with both of those guys and Lucas as well.
Yeah, it's so weird, man, because like I can't remember like not being really good friends with them. Like I
Yeah,
remember coming to the gym for my first time, but I don't remember like any awkward conversation, like a hey, nice to meet you, any of that. I can only remember being like super tight with all of them. I
yeah.
think we went from like strangers to like best friends right away. And I think
Aaron just fell down a flight of stairs. No.
I think like within a few months of knowing, maybe it was I think it was probably like a few months after I started training there that summer. Like I had them over to my mom's house and they had dinner with my mom and like stayed over. And we've done that a few times. We went on this big trip together.
Yep.
And yeah, we just all clicked immediately.
No, it's cool. I mean, like I've just been there a little bit and like as a jiu-jitsu student and it's such a great environment and Rory for me has been probably the best. I don't know, like for me he's been the best coach I've ever had. Like he's
Hmm.
kind of pushed me and brought things out in me that I didn't think I could sort of accomplish in the jiu-jitsu sort of way. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that with him as well, like in your corner? Like
Oh, yeah, he's awesome, man. Like he knows his shit for sure.
he won't listen to this,
Um,
so if you want to talk a bunch of shit about him, just now's the
No,
time.
man, it's crazy. It's like some people just like have that like special knack for something,
Yeah.
right? It's like I roll with him and I feel like
Oh, it's
my knowledge of
ridiculous.
jujitsu, no matter how hard and long I train, will probably never be equal to him. Like
Yeah.
he just has that special thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's the most dangerous guy I think I've ever rolled with. Like he just like it's just this it's ridiculous every time I roll with
The
him. I'm just
submissions are, yeah, it's
it's
like
like
zero
it's
to 100 immediately.
I just verbally tap more than I ever have in my life with him
Yeah,
because it comes on
yeah,
it's just like tap
crazy.
tap 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 tap.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's interesting because I know him in more of the capacity as the jujitsu coach, but it just you can see how he's just a gifted like coach and mentor and that sort of
yeah.
thing. So
Super
it's
smart dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
which you
yeah, he's a great guy.
which you wouldn't suspect by looking at him. But
Apparently a great bagpipe player.
oh my god, I've seen so many pictures. Apparently, that's Rory's coping mechanism is to stand on street corners and play the bagpipes.
And beg for money. Yeah, I don't know.
I saw
Each their own.
somebody paid a store owner paid him $20 to stop playing.
Yeah, I heard that too. That's so funny.
Oh my
That's
god.
awesome.
Is he kind of the primary coach for you, or is Lyndon just as much in the picture, or how does that sort of work with the dynamic there?
No, I like Lyndon's. I would say is more of the primary coach.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, he kind of like organizes sessions, does like game planning stuff, that sort of thing. He's always in talks with my manager and promoters about who the
Okay.
opponents are and that sort of thing. But yeah, Rory's obviously like super important still too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So, and is Lucas in the picture with you as well? Like, you got to do some pad work and stuff with him
Yeah,
too, I
we do
think?
some pad work, and he's like one of my main like kickboxing training partners. He's also like a fucking awesome athlete. I love training with that guy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's like one of the only like big guys that I have where we can really like beat on each other and like put some full weight into our punches and kicks, right? Like there's not a lot of big guys around, so yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome for that.
Well, you seem to have quite a good connection with Elias Theodoreau as well. Like, you guys seem to get, and you guys seem like perfect training partners, very similar. He was a middleweight, I believe.
Yeah,
Both you
Yeah.
know, big guys. Like,
Yep.
how did that come about? How did you connect with him? Through Para Bellum or?
No, it was through BTC because he's friends with like Adam Asenza and
Yep.
Paul Jalbert.
Yep.
So when I think I was still living in Niagara at the time actually when I met Elias, but I hooked up with like Adam and Paul, and they were inviting me out to BTC. And the one day I went out, and Elias was there, and I think this was like right after he won the Ultimate Fighter, so he was like
Yeah.
new in the UFC, and I was like fanboying so hard, and I was like,
Yeah.
couldn't believe that I
Just
was training with this
swooning over
guy.
his hair as well.
Yeah. This is a funny. I don't know if I've ever told Elias this story, but I remember the one time we were trained together. I think we trained at BTC, and then we went to Elias's parents' house and like chilled for a bit, and then
Yeah.
we were driving to Guelph University to wrestle with their wrestling team. And Elias was taking a nap in my car, just like laid his seat back and fell asleep. And like I barely knew the guy, and I was like, I can't believe this UFC fighter is just taking a nap in my car right now. Like this is wild.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys seem I don't just from a distance you guys seem pretty tight. And what a good
yeah,
like what a good mentor to have as well. Like a guy that won
man, he's
he
awesome.
won the friggin' show. To me,
Yeah,
he's been silently like not silently, but like he doesn't get the credit he's due. Like he's been one of the most successful Canadian fighters in the scene. Like I mean,
for sure,
outside, you
man.
know,
Yeah, he was. I think he was ranked number 13 at middleweight
yeah, but
in the world.
and he barely ever lost. Like I mean,
His 18-3 record.
yeah, like just
Yeah,
unbelievable. So
yeah.
I thought maybe you guys met because you were both ring boys or at some point or something.
Nope,
You
I've never done the ring boy duties yet.
you just brushed shoulders in between rounds, and it was just love at first sight between you two. So
No, it like slowly grew over time because he was at TriStar for a while, so like I
right,
would go to him,
yep,
train with him, and when he was here, we'd train, but it wasn't super consistent. But now it's like every week we're in there beating the shit out of each other like 3, 4 days a week.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, I want to talk a bit. I want to kind of end a bit here with the talking about your upcoming fight. It's August 13th. SFT
Yep.
in Miami, Florida, home of the coronavirus.
Home of the
It's
Corona.
Aaron Jeffery versus COVID for the middleweight title. No, so
Exactly.
tell me a bit about the opponent. How did this come about, and how is training going for that?
Training's going great. Like I said, I've been since like 4 weeks after the lockdown, I got back in the gym, and I've been pretty much twice a day, 6 days a week ever
Yeah,
since
like
then.
any
So
picture I
that's
see, you're
perfect.
jacked out of your mind. Like you're more jacked than before Corona. So I don't know what's going on.
I got slightly soft probably after a few
Yeah,
weeks at home,
slight.
but
Yeah, you can only see 9 of your abs as opposed to all 10.
but how it came about, I have no idea. Actually, my manager, Dodge Sports, set that up because we were in talks with like LFA, CFFC,
Okay.
BTC was thinking maybe they were going to do a show in Ontario again, and then all of a sudden, like this opportunity popped up, and like we didn't really have any bites on anything else, so we took it.
Now, given the situation with sort of travel, like were there or are there any barriers or special things you have to go through to be able to
Man,
go
I don't.
there? Or
I think you can fly anywhere.
we're okay. Yep.
I think like the airport, you can buy a ticket and go wherever you want right now. Like maybe there's some countries that won't let you in,
Right.
but like I know people that are just traveling for fun right now.
Okay.
I think you can't
Great
drive
time.
across the yeah, no
Bargain
kidding,
basement
eh?
prices.
Yeah, for real, man. The flights are so like my girlfriend wants to come down to Miami. I don't think she'll be able to get into the event, but she wants to just come be there. And like round trip is like $150 or something.
Yeah, you can fly to Wuhan, China for $10 right now.
Yeah,
Both
they'll
ways.
pay you.
Round trip, round trip, Wuhan, China.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's pretty amazing. What do you know much about this guy? Like who's your opponent? Do you
Uh,
like when you game plan, do you do studying of the opponent? Does Lyndon or
yeah.
Rory, like how does that work?
Um, Yeah, like I don't watch like super detailed. Like I'll watch a few fights to get an
Right.
idea of what I'm doing. I think Lyndon and Chris actually they'll watch a bit more in detail and come up with some game plan stuff for me.
Right.
And yeah, this guy he's 9-4 record. He's like a lankier dude. I think he's like 6'3", a little bit skinnier.
Okay.
Jiu-jitsu black belt. Got some wins by sub. He was on Contender Series too, actually, a couple years ago. So it's
Oh shit. Okay.
yeah, so he's kind of like a bigger name guy, and I guess
Good.
this is the biggest promotion in Brazil. It's their first show in the States, so
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
think there's
Yeah.
going to be some eyes on it for sure.
Oh, then that's the kind of thing you want, right? Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's, especially for a guy that's been having some trouble getting an opponent. So what's training camp been like? I mean, it must be a little bit like, do you have a good stable of training partners right now? I mean, or do you feel like it's kind of not quite it could be if
No,
things-
so like after I got back in the gym and stuff was probably the best crew of training partners that I had for like my whole career basically. I think because
Wow.
like usually guys are kind of spread out. Like there's not a lot of like bigger guys all in one gym,
Right.
and all the gyms are closed. So I had a few guys that I could reach out to, and I could like organize my own training sessions where I'd have like 6 or 7 big dudes to train with, which is like super super rare for me. So it's actually been awesome.
So it's actually been good because there's fewer options. So you guys are probably
Exactly.
all getting
Exactly.
together. So it's like
Everyone's looking for like where we can train. So if
a
we just
super
all link
camp.
up, yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
incredible.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns about going into Florida or Miami, or is that kind of not? I mean, for a guy like you, I wouldn't. I'm sure, but
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna be fucking around while I'm down there. I'm gonna go get off the airplane, probably go straight to my hotel. I'm gonna be like cutting weight and stuff, right? So I'm not gonna be like out having a good time. I'll probably be like sitting there just like resting.
yep.
And then like I'll go to the weigh-ins, I'll go to the fight, and then I'll come home the next day. So I'm not too concerned.
Now, cutting weight for you seems to be you are again. You're probably one of the most efficient and intelligent professional guys I've probably ever seen do it. Do you just really have it down to a science at this point? Like you don't seem like the kind of guy that's dehydrating like crazy to cut weight. Is that the case? Like it seems like you kind of
Uh, No, I do lose a fair amount of water weight. I think my body reacts very well to what I've done, or maybe I found the method that I respond best to. I don't end up sweating very much. Like, you hear about guys, like you said, like sweating like 15, 20 pounds in the sauna and they're in the towels and it's like a 12-hour process. I don't do that. But I can like manipulate my water weight through fight week and I can strip off like 12 pounds without
wow.
sweating at all. Yeah, just by changing my diet, my sodium, and my water intake and that kind of stuff, I'll get like 12 pounds off and then maybe sweat like 2 at the end.
That's crazy. So it's not like
Yeah.
you don't feel depleted going into the cage then. It's not the kind of thing where you
Oh no,
feel
when I'm going to the no, 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 you feel good. That week I'll feel like you start to feel pretty dry by the end of it and a little bit
yep.
weak and stuff like that. But yeah, I see guys that are definitely a lot rougher than me at weigh-ins and on fight week and stuff.
One last thing I want to ask you about too is just I had somebody ask me recently a question about sort of, how to deal with the stress of competition, the anxiety, more in a jiu-jitsu context, but what is it like on your end for that? Are you somebody that gets really amped up? Do you have to really be mindful of what you're doing, or do you just feel kind of like you're pretty calm the whole time? Like just talk to me a bit about what your mentality is like going into competition and how you deal with that.
So I try and just make it as fun as it could be, and I try and make it feel like another training session. Like in the back, I'll put on like some pop punk music, like some good
Back to the
Charlotte or
emo,
something
back
like
to
that.
the emo
Yeah, some
playlist.
emo,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
good Charlotte, some 41, that kind of stuff, and just like shoot the shit with the guys and have a good time and like fuck, I don't know, show each other memes and whatever, and just like keep it as light as possible. Like I see guys that are in the back and they like put on their own headphones and they just sit there like in their own bubble, and I'm like, fuck, man, I can't do that. I'd be freaking out. I got to be like talking to people, like staying engaged, keeping my mind busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know, I'm somebody that has anxiety a lot in general, and I find like I have to be really mindful, especially leading up to it, because I get so ramped up. Like, I have to be careful what I'm listening to, and I find I can't, like, there's a time and a place to be amped up, but I feel like for me, I can't be doing that when it's at night and I'm trying to sleep. Like, I need stuff that's going to, like, I put on stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
I have like motivational quotes and stuff that I
yeah.
listen to. Do you do any of that kind of stuff? Like, do you find that helps, or do you kind of just able to?
Um, no, I think I'm pretty good like leading up to the fight. Like the only times I'm getting amped up would be like before training, like if you're feeling a little bit sluggish and stuff going in, I'll
Yeah,
try and like put on some pump up music and actually fire myself up, and
yeah.
that's helps you get through a training session. But yeah, I don't want to be like that like immediately before the fight, get like way too big of an adrenaline dump because that's not going to help. Um, yeah, dealing with nerves before, I think I'm fairly good.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
seem
like you
kind of
were
like
saying,
an even keel kind of guy to me for the most part.
yeah, but there's the times where you're like laying in bed and I could be like on the brink of falling asleep and like this guy's face pops into my head and I feel like thinking of the fight video and stuff and like then I can't sleep for like the next 3 hours.
Yeah,
So there's definitely that.
cool, cool. Well, it sounds like things are going well for you, moving in that direction. I don't want to keep you too much longer. We'll wrap it up here. It's been about an hour. Um, where can people find you? You're on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, everywhere at AAJ MMA,
Okay,
Instagram and Twitter. I don't use Twitter all that much. And then yeah, like you plugged earlier, the Jeffery Nutrition account on Instagram. And I'm actually pretty active on Twitter with Jeffrey Nutrition for anyone
okay.
that wants to read some like boring sciencey nutrition
and
stuff.
for the record, how do you spell your last name? I've seen it spelled with one F, two F's.
Did you see these fight posters?
No. I've seen your name spelled like 8
times.
different ways. Is it?
I know. It's Jeffery.
ERY. Okay.
They spelled it Jefrey.
Yeah. Okay.
And they spelled my first name Aarin.
Like ERIN. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they butchered it a few times.
You know what happens? That way, you could always, if it doesn't go your way, you just say,
that wasn't
I wasn't Aaron.
That was a different Aaron Jeffery.
Aaron Joffrey. Who's this guy? Is there anything that you wanted to get out that I didn't touch base on? Anybody you want to shout out? Any sponsors? Anything like that?
No,
for
man,
the millions of people listening at home right now.
No, I'm happy that you had me on. This was fun.
Oh man, it was great. I haven't had a chance to really chat with you. I just sort of see you, in between rounds. But like I said, I'm a fan regardless. You've always been kind to me. You've always been a very stand-up guy. So you're easy to root for. I want to see you do well. Good luck on August 13th. How can people watch it? Where is it available? Is it on pay-per-view?
It's going to be on, it's fight.tv, FITE.tv.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have that on my Roku box.
Yeah, I'll post some stuff on Instagram and Facebook and whatever leading up to that too.
All right, cool, man. Well, stay healthy. Thanks so much. I miss seeing you. Maybe we'll get to do a round in the next 10 years or something like that before I turn 50. But all the best, man. You're awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time. It means a lot. And I'll see you when I see you.
Okay, thanks, PFed.
All right, see you, brother.
Later, man.
All right, see you, dude. Bye.